For someone known around the world as the face of one of television's most iconic love stories, Sam Heughan's real-life romantic life feels almost invisible. No confirmed relationships, no public declarations, no clear timeline, just fragments, rumors, and moments that seem to appear out of nowhere and disappear just as quickly. And that contrast is what makes the story so fascinating. Because how can someone so closely associated with love on screen remain such a mystery of it? From the beginning, fans were drawn not only to his performance as Jamie Fraser, but to the emotional depth he brought to the role. The kind of connection he portrayed felt real, almost too real at times, which naturally led people to wonder what his life looked like beyond the camera. But every time that curiosity got close to an answer, it seemed to hit an invisible wall. Interviews stayed careful, answers remained controlled, and anything personal was gently redirected into something safer. Over the years, there have been moments, small, scattered, and often unclear, that hinted at something more. Sightings with unidentified women, brief appearances at events where he wasn't alone, subtle interactions that sparked speculation without confirmation. Each time, the pattern repeated itself. A wave of attention would rise, theories would spread, and just when it felt like something might finally be revealed, everything would fade, leaving no solid trace behind. That repetition didn't go unnoticed. Fans began to recognize the pattern, to expect it even, as if his love life followed a rhythm that was carefully controlled. Nothing ever escalated to a clear relationship, but nothing ever felt completely random either. It was always somewhere in between, close enough to feel real, distant enough to remain unconfirmed. And that space is where the mystery has continued to grow. What makes this even more intriguing is how consistent he has been in maintaining that distance. Unlike many public figures who occasionally share glimpses of their personal lives, Sam has remained almost entirely guarded when it comes to anything romantic. Questions are answered with humor or deflection, conversations are shifted toward work, and the focus is always brought back to something external rather than personal. It's not avoidance in an obvious sense, it's control, subtle but deliberate. There have also been moments where fans believed they had figured it out, where a particular name or sighting seemed to fit too perfectly to be coincidence. Online discussions would intensify, timelines would be built, and connections would be drawn between different appearances. But just as quickly, those narratives would lose momentum, either due to lack of evidence or because something didn't quite align. And once again, the story would return to uncertainty. Then there's the emotional contradiction that sits at the center of it all. On screen, Sam portrays a character defined by unwavering love, devotion, and emotional openness. Off-screen, his approach feels almost the opposite, private, reserved, and intentionally distant from public interpretation. That contrast has led many to question whether the difference is purely professional, or if it reflects something deeper about how he chooses to navigate relationships in real life. Some fans have even suggested that this pattern isn't accidental at all. That perhaps what appears to be mystery is actually structure, a deliberate way of keeping certain parts of life separate from everything else. In an environment where every detail can become a headline, maintaining that boundary may not just be a preference, but a necessity. And if that's true, then the lack of clarity isn't a gap in the story, it is the story. Still, the unanswered questions continue to pull people in. Because every time a new sighting appears, every time a subtle interaction is noticed, it feels like another piece of something larger, something that hasn't been fully revealed yet. And even though none of those pieces have formed a complete picture, they've created a narrative that feels too consistent to ignore. Now, after years of speculation, one thing has become clear. This isn't just about who Sam Heughan has or hasn't been with. It's about the space between what is seen and what is known, the way a story can exist without ever being fully confirmed. And the more that space remains unfilled, the more one question keeps coming back. Not just who has been part of his love life, but what has really been happening behind the silence all this time. As the pattern becomes clearer, the question begins to shift from what happened to why it happened this way. Because when something repeats itself over and over, rumors that rise, moments that hint, then disappear, it stops feeling accidental. It starts to feel intentional, almost like a system designed to keep the truth just out of reach. And that's where the story of Sam Heughan's love life takes on a completely different meaning. Some believe the answer is simpler than it seems. That there is no hidden drama, no secret relationship waiting to be revealed, just a man who has chosen to separate his personal life from his public identity. In an industry where exposure is constant and privacy is rare, that choice alone can create the illusion of mystery. The less you show, the more people assume there must be something to find. But others aren't convinced it's that straightforward. They point to the consistency of the almost moments, those brief glimpses that feel too real to be coincidence. The way certain interactions carry a level of familiarity, the way certain appearances raise questions that are never fully answered. It creates the impression that something is there, something ongoing, but deliberately kept from becoming a defined narrative. And that raises another possibility. What if it's not about hiding something, but protecting it? Not from scandal or exposure, but from the weight of public attention itself. Relationships, when placed under constant scrutiny, can change in ways that aren't always visible from the outside. They can become defined by expectation, shaped by perception rather than reality. And for someone like Sam, whose career already carries a powerful romantic image, that pressure could be even more intense. There's also the factor of identity, something that often gets overlooked in these conversations. When you become so closely associated with a character like Jamie Fraser, it doesn't just influence how others see you, it influences how your personal life is interpreted. Every interaction is compared, every potential relationship is measured against a fictional standard that was never meant to exist in real life. And over time, that can create a disconnect that's difficult to navigate. In that context, the absence of a public love story starts to make more sense. It's not necessarily about lacking connection, but about refusing to let that connection be shaped by expectations that don't belong to it. It's about maintaining something real in a space where reality is often replaced by narrative. And that choice, while understandable, comes with its own consequence. It leaves people searching for answers that may never come. What makes this situation so compelling is that it doesn't offer closure. There's no single reveal, no definitive moment where everything becomes clear. Instead, there are layers, possibilities that overlap, interpretations that coexist, each one shaped by what people choose to believe. And in that uncertainty, the story continues to evolve without ever reaching a final conclusion. Some fans have started to accept that this may be the point. That the mystery itself is not something to be solved, but something to be understood. That not every story is meant to be fully visible, especially when it belongs to someone who has consistently chosen to keep it that way. And in a way, that realization shifts the entire perspective, from trying to uncover the truth to respecting why it might remain hidden. Sam Heughan has never said that there is nothing to tell. He has simply chosen not to tell it in the way people expect. And that distinction is what keeps the conversation alive, balanced between curiosity and respect, between speculation and acceptance. Because in the end, the story everyone is talking about may not be about what happened at all. It may be about the rare decision to live part of a life without explaining it, and the way that choice leaves just enough space for everyone else to keep wondering. Because in the end, the story everyone is talking about may not be about what happened at all. It may be about the rare decision to live part of a life without explaining it, and the way that choice leaves just enough space for everyone else to keep wondering. Because in the end, the story everyone is talking about may not be about what happened at all. It may be about the rare decision to live part of a life without explaining it, and the way that choice leaves just enough space for everyone else to keep wondering.